Hey guys, before we get to the video, for more tips and tricks in the heating and air industry, please click that subscribe button. Thank you. Corruption video time. Hey guys, Joshua Griffin here, and the new HVAC guide. Wanted to do a video because I've done several videos over the past couple months where I've stepped on some toes, I've gotten some haters, I've had some nasty messages from other contractors or other people in our industry, and I wanted to do yet again another video where we're going to step on some toes. And so I wanted to talk about a few things that you either may be aware of it, or maybe you weren't aware of it and maybe something just didn't smell right. Something just kind of sounded a little funny about something. And so I'm going to run through a few of those. Some of them we're talking about worldwide corruption type stuff, and some of them we're talking about corruption at more local levels. And so I'm excited to dive into this. I love stepping on toes. I love telling homeowners things that other heating and air guys either don't want you to know or they don't have the guts to tell you. So here we're going to run through this. First thing I want to start out with is there corruption with the EPA? If we're talking about the United States Environmental Protection Agency, is there corruption? Let me just throw a few things out there. The first thing is, I did a video recently where we talked about the phase out of 410 coming, and R32 is on the way with some companies, and then other companies are going to be using another type of refrigerant. I always seem to get comments on that because somebody's going to tell me, oh no, so-and-so is using this or that. I don't think that's the point. It doesn't matter to me what the future holds as far as which refrigerant they're going to decide to use or not use. But I do remember when I was first coming into the trade, I remember hearing years ago the phase out of R12, and they even kind of jokingly said, yeah, someday they're going to phase out R22, and that day came, and they did eventually just completely phase it out. Technically, the laws say they can no longer produce it. You can still get your hands on it currently. During the making of this video, I can still go buy a jug, but it's gotten a whole lot more expensive than it used to be. You can't even buy the equipment anymore. For a number of years there, you could buy the equipment, but it would be dry charged with nitrogen, and you would have to put the refrigerant in, and then of course they eventually phased it out entirely. And so I think the interesting thing of that, if we're talking about from a corruption issue, is when I did that other video, I started talking to some folks in other countries who were telling me, oh look, we've had R32 for years, you know, you guys in the US, you're actually behind on this. I thought that alone was kind of interesting, but then I was talking to other heating and air guys, and of course, just like anything else, somebody always claims that they know more than somebody else. That's why I'm always just trying to say there's people way smarter than me at this, and I don't care about that. My goal is not to be the smartest guy in the room. My goal is to be the most informative guy in the room. And so when I'm talking about that, when I did that video, I was talking about how, you know, we're phasing this out. I can't believe they didn't know this about 410. And I started getting comments from other heating and air guys that might even see this video and repeat it. I don't know. But they were basically saying, oh yeah, we always knew that 410A had problems with the GWP and blah, blah, blah. And we knew it was going to be phased out eventually anyway. And I can tell you for a fact that in my days when they were talking about phasing out R22 and bringing in 410, there was no talk at anything I was at, any classes I sat in or anything like that. They pretty much said, look, this is going to be the future and so on. And so, of course, we're hearing from other folks saying, no, we knew it was always a problem and whatever. None of that really matters. But the point is they're now phasing out 410. And, of course, we're hearing from other folks in other countries that are saying, look, you know, what the hell? You know, we already knew it was a problem. We're using R32. And so it just makes you wonder, you know, who's having lunch with who's making these decisions. So we're going to use this refrigerant now, and we're going to use that one. And I'm going to go ahead and make a gigantic, bold prediction because that's what I do. And if you see this video in the future, my prediction is they will eventually phase out R32 for some reason or another. And it's all about money. It's all about inflating the prices as they could. We were even told we started hearing rumblings of 410A being phased out. They were saying, well, hey, R32 is not going to be as high of pressures, so the materials don't have to be as thick to hold in that extra pressure, and so it's going to be less expensive to produce this equipment, and blah, blah, blah. I'm going to make another prediction and tell you that's probably not true. I would be really surprised when this all switches over if equipment prices drop. I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. So I bet the prices are going to stay just as high because it's all about the almighty dollar, right? It's sort of like, I remember watching a documentary how in other countries, if you go to Europe and places like that, there's certain practices that are illegal there in food, but in the United States, it's not illegal because somebody's paying somebody and, you know, they don't want to hurt their business, so they never pass those laws. And so there's another one you can look up. The second thing I'll share, I feel like I've already probably stepped on a few toes, and that's what I'm here for. The second thing I wanted to talk about is heating and air companies raising their prices. I remember a couple years ago when a certain president was in office, they were making tariffs on heating and air equipment or certain types of things coming into our country. And it was just awfully funny that when those companies had to raise their prices, you know, they're now shipping their products in. They've had to raise their prices a little bit to cover those tariffs to their market. And then all of a sudden, the entire industry, even stuff that's made in America, raised their prices too. Now, you can make the argument that, hey, there was tariffs on the materials and there's tariffs on this or that. But I can tell you that I know of at least one company, and I'm not going to get into it on this video, but I know of at least one company that did not raise their prices with everyone else. They apparently missed that lunch or that memo. That being said, I think there are certain companies that are getting together and they're sitting down and having lunch and it's all about that dollar. And then I think there's other companies that it's not. So that's my second one. And hopefully I have stepped on a couple toes by now. But in case I haven't, let's talk real quick about local stuff and corruption at the local level, because I've always heard it said there's local government contracts and things like that, and there's corruption. It's all about who you know. And I can honestly tell you that I experienced this. I'm not going to mention any names or anything like that, but I did experience this at a local level. A county near us was getting bids for adding ionizers to their schools, and we were thousands, not just a little bit less. We're not talking about a little bit of money here and there. We were thousands less per installation. Per installation, not thousands less based on the entire deal. We're talking about just for the one product. When we would install one, we were thousands less than the other guy. So this other guy was installing all these ionizers for $7,000 a piece, where we were more in the neighborhood of $1,000. It depended on, you know, a few variables, labor, things like that. So we might have been a little higher than $1,000, depending on if it was on a roof or what it took to get the electricity to it or whatever. And then there were some that were going to be a little less than $1,000 and things like that. These jokers were at $7,000 a piece and they got the contract. Now, I don't know why. I'm not going to get into too many details, but I will say that that is a little eye-opening. I don't know if there was a kickback or what, or why they would select somebody else or at least not get another bid. I'm not saying you always need to go with the cheapest bid. I'm not that guy. But I do think that it was a little interesting that they didn't even shop. Somebody knew somebody. Somebody was having lunch with somebody. And I thought that was quite interesting, the corruption at a local level. And if you don't think that's happening in your town, I bet you might be surprised. Another example I'll give you is another locality, I'll just say it that way, was getting bids on installing a heating and air system in one of their buildings, and we were less expensive. I had a relationship with one of the people in charge. I don't want to get into too many details, but let's just say that this person had people she had to answer to, and she wanted to choose us, but the people that she had to answer to went with someone else, and mostly because of the relationship they had with them. I'm not saying that relationships are a bad thing. I just think that it's interesting when there seems to be a little bit of skeezy corruption type stuff going on with that. The last thing I'll share, and I've kind of touched on this before, especially when it comes to our social media and things like that with Griffin Air, and that is we see at times moving on into our fifth example of corruption in the heating and air industry. And that is if you have a heating and air guy that asks you as the homeowner to pull the permit or something like that, I would say a lot of times there's a reason for that, and you really need to perk up. They might have a fancy reason why. They may say, hey, it's gonna save you a couple of dollars if you go pull the permit and this and that, but I'm telling you, you are making a mistake if you do that. At least in Virginia, I can't speak for all states and how they do things and so on, but if you go pulling the permit and you're on the hook for it, that's a huge red flag. Most legit reputable heating and air contractors have no problems pull a permit if it's required, and they will do everything possible to do it right. Now, if they charge you more money, then so be it. That's not the point here. But the point is, if they are using that as a reason to not pull the permit, if they want you as the homeowner to pull it, that is a huge red flag. Huge red flag. Corruption, blah, 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 right? So anyway, hopefully this helps one of you. If you happen to catch this video and you're in a situation where one of these things is able to kind of help you out, that would be awesome. If you have any questions, put them down in the comments section below. Hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching. The last thing I'll say is if you're in the market for a new heating and air system and you're in Virginia in the Middle Peninsula or the Northern Neck, give Griffin Air a call. We'll give you a free estimate and the best warranty in the area. But if you're not in our coverage area, check out my new website. I've even got a little banner up here, newhvacguide.com. Check out that site because we've put so much information on there. It's as if I wrote a book telling folks, hey, here's the good and the bad. Avoid this or that. I've even got a whole page called no-nos, things to stay away from. And so before you spend thousands, check out that website. And finally, for more tips and tricks in the heating and air industry, click that subscribe button. Thanks for watching.